All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's just about 2 past the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get rolling. For those of you that were on time, I don't want to make anybody wait any longer. For anybody that does not know me, my name is Anuj. I am the field marketing specialist here in Santa Cruz and Monterey County. And today we are doing a InTouch 102 class reviewing the websites. Now, a few housekeeping tips before I get started. Hopefully everyone's looking at a slide that just, talks about my goal. Obviously is to provide you guys with some knowledge that you can take out of this, incorporate into your own plan, and leverage the tools and different assets being given to you by Coldwell Banker to better represent your business and your brand to your consumer. So this is a 30-minute session kind of focused on some of the key points I think you want to leverage in regards to editing and getting in front of your consumer right out of the gate, assuming you have just finished a 100 or 101 style session. You've got a few of the basics to your CRM and your contacts set up. And now we need to make sure that the hub of your business, that is your website, is rolling so that the rest of your marketing arms that are built to drive traffic to that website, like a Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, any other physical piece that you're sending out, whatever branch of your marketing strategy is being put to work, you want to make sure it all focuses back to the centralized space that is your site. So to make sure I get everybody out of here in under a half hour, I'm going to ask that everybody please utilize the chat, which again, if you open it up, will appear on either side of me. You can type anything that you would like into there if you're worried about forgetting it. I ask that everybody please remain on mute through the entirety of the session. I will open up the floor at the end of our class to allow you to unmute and ask any questions if you would like. But again, feel free to leverage the chat. I will also address those at the end when we get to the questions. I will send you a recap that has a few of the notes that we're going over, as well as a straight recording of this class that will link to a YouTube channel of mine that has the rest of the sessions that I teach also located there. So feel free to leverage any of those things at the end of the session to get your business going. Outside of that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to stop sharing my screen momentarily, and I'll dive back into a live demo of the website in just a sec. Before we do that, there's like a 10-minute lecture portion where I want to go over what should you be thinking in the forefront of strategy when it comes to how is my website being utilized as a larger part of a marketing strategy that works in conjunction with my business plan. Now, if that whole sentence is something very new to you, this is where someone like me or whoever your local field marketing specialist is going to come in clutch, working hand in hand with your manager to develop a business plan and a marketing plan that works to better promote that business plan and, more importantly, works within the constraints of the budget that your business plan has allocated for you quarter to quarter, will allow you to make sure your business is functioning as effectively as possible. And that includes something like your website and what other arms come out of that website that may be utilized as a resource that costs money. And you can keep tabs and analytics on all that. And that is turning into a whole digression that we don't really need to get into here. But the main point is your website is obviously something that should be thought of as a larger part of an ongoing marketing strategy. That being said, the aspects of the consumer search for your website is already taken care of, right? InTouch is linked to the MLS and will link to MLS searches for properties that are on the market and brand them all to you. What you need to do as an agent is, what is that next step that I can do to promote this page to my consumer, make it a resource for them that is worth revisiting, and how am I using this space to advertise my brand and business, and why I am an ambassador in my communities that I operate in, which makes me the best person to represent you, the prospective client, on either side of a transaction, whether you need someone to sell in this area to consumers all across the globe, or you need to find someone or someone's looking to buy in this area, and you're that representative contact that can display more to them than just MLS numbers and property information. So your website, like I've been harping on, should be a part of that strategy. And what we're going to focus on today are some of those key points that you can dive right into and start building content onto your page to better focus your consumer, keep them on your page, make your page more shareable, and promote yourself. So let's go ahead and do that. I am going to share my screen here, and we're going to dive right into CB Desk. Obviously, we are going to be working in InTouch. So you would want to click on your InTouch tile. That will take us right to our dashboard. Now, again, this is a 102 class, so I'm not going to cover any of the basics here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to make this easy for people to look at. Now that we're in here, let's go ahead and think strategy for a second, right? And what are our focuses going to be that I want you to take out of this class and apply to your brand? So we're going to go to website first, and I'm going to click edit site, and then I'm also going to click view site so we can look at these things kind of hand in hand and look at some of the things we're focusing on. So the first thing we want to think about, and we're going to open up my website here, is the layout. And what information are we trying to convey to our consumer right out of the gate? So your homepage is designed to be a vertically moving space. You've got your menu up at the top. And again, I'll go over where all of this information gets edited in just a second. But the reason I want to start here is because your primary focus in creating this website should 100% be, how easy is it for my consumer to find out what they want to? And there's two things they're going to want to find out about. Homes in the area that they're interested in looking at. And again, that's already built into the system, so that's easy to do. The second thing they're going to want to find out about is who you are and why you're the best agent to represent them. And how we do that is if you've been in any of my sessions, I'm a big proponent of the phrase, people hear with their eyes. So you want to build things into the website that shows your connection to the community and your knowledge base of the industry, rather than write something or have something written down that you will speak to in a presentation. Because again, anybody can say anything. Building things onto your website allows your marketing strategy to, again, focus your brand in spaces where consumers can readily see how you are going to implement the marketing strategy that you're pitching to them. You know, Listing Concierge talks a lot about a strong online footprint and how we advertise and syndicate your property and get it into all of these spaces. A great way to prove you indeed can back up the talk is to say, hey, go check out my website. You can see past television commercials there. You can see information about the communities, blah, 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 whatever we've built into your site. You can guide your consumer there and then continue the conversation about your strategic pitch for their listing. Or if it's a buyer, you can continue your pitch for representation. So what you've got here is that vertical layout. You'll see an area where you can add a home image and a home search, and then a few custom tabs that you can coordinate from there. So a bio, quick bio section, you've got community sections, and then if you're an agent, you can also add listings and sales as well. I don't have an MLS account, so you don't see those on my page, but I will show you where you can add them. So let's go into this back end and see what we're looking at, right? When you hit edit site, you're going to get dropped into this dashboard. And as you can see, it's pages and menus. So all of these big ticket items right here, resource, sell, home, communities, etc., all relate to menu items, as you can see on the website. So what is the difference between these big items and these small ones right here? Resources is a tab that has subtabs underneath it. So you can organize your website, again, thinking about focus for your consumer. My consumer is Coldwell Banker agents. So I've got my YouTube channel located here under resources, and I've got information about me. And again, this is a sample place, so I've built in the kind of sample layout for basic purposes that a consumer might like to see, right? Home, properties, about, contact, community info, home searches. You've got a little sell and resource section. But I digress, right? Again, think about what's going to be best for your consumer, your audience, and that's how you want to structure what we're looking at here. And the big goal is there doesn't need to be, tab over tab over tab over tab. This is one of those abilities to prove how concise you can be in how you market properties and how creative you can be. So a page that has a bunch of tabs and is a bit long-winded, for a lack of better terms, doesn't reflect well on your business ability. So you want to think about how concise can I be? And more importantly, if a consumer is looking at this on a mobile platform, the more tabs they have, that you have, I should say, the harder it's going to be for that consumer to navigate between them. So again, simplicity is key here. And that's the same kind of thought process you want to think about as you navigate these spaces. And the first place you're going to want to look at when you dive into these websites is appearance. So beyond looking at just what you've got as far as pages and menus. And again, I didn't mention, but editing these is just as easy as dragging and letting go to move spaces around. You can save to finish. And anything that you drag, as you can see, leaving it up here will make it a main tab, and dropping it underneath another resource by moving it, hovering over the tab instead of over on the left, will make it a subspace or a submenu page, I should say, within that menu item. Now that I've saved those, you can also add your new pages by clicking add. And as you can see, page will give you the kind you would see on any of these pages, right? You can add SEO, metadata. Some of my colleagues are teaching great classes on SEO, so I'm going to let them talk about that. Sign up for those in Sales Pro. But creating a page gives you that opportunity. A menu item, those are these big spaces that are used to group individual pages. So those will drop right up here. Do not create a menu item and then turn it into a page by dropping it under something, because you won't get the advantage of adding SEO tags to them. And then a link. This is much like what I did for YouTube. If you click on YouTube channel, it takes you right to my YouTube channel. You can make a link, a menu item, or a page, whatever works best for your purpose. This was just done. You drop the YouTube URL in there, and then I put YouTube page, and I hit save. That's adding new things here. What about just from the basics, right? What do we edit for the design? This is where we're going to dive into appearance. So let's pull that pin back out. First thing you're going to see is website logo. This generally takes a few hours to update after you choose a new one. But you'll be able to select from what's available in the system. Now, obviously, all I can see are the CB North Stars. If you are a global luxury certified agent, you will also see the luxury logos made available as well. But beyond that, choose what you think will best work for the color scheme that you're going to be using for the website, which you can choose under this setup wizard. I'm going to hit launch website setup wizard. And right here, you can see there are a couple of themes that you can choose from. I am using bungalow and dark text on a light background, which is what you see here. There's also the two-door layout, and you can get an idea of what that layout looks like, and the villa layout. And this would be the East Lake, would be the brokerage logo. Your contact info would be on the right, and then your menu items would highlight along the left. I like the layout I have, so that's why I'm keeping that. And again, if you switch, you can see what that background difference would look like if you had light text, dark background in the display right here. Once you choose what you like, you go ahead and you hit next, and now you can get to colors and fonts. Colors, As they are broken down here, you can see your primary accent color is used for buttons and other highlights on your website. So for me, that's that blue that I've selected that you see here. The sign in button as well. That's a good indicator. The secondary accent color is used for additional options that you can choose to turn on and off on the website, like the background to my short bio that you see here. And these colors, again, are added by Pantones. You can come in here and mess around with whatever you would look like. This, again, should pair right into a larger conversation about branding. If you are using Design Concierge, for example, to develop a brand identity for you and a logo, make sure the color scheme you're using here pairs well with that logo. Everybody that gets something from Design Concierge gets what's called a brand book or a brand sheet from the designer, and that breaks down all the Pantones, fonts, things like that that are being used as a part of your logo. You can get color wheels or color theory charts from your FMS. We're all very well equipped with that kind of information, and you can make sure you're pairing colors that work well with your branding. Again, think about great brands, Nike, Coldwell Banker, things like the ways in which brands and colors are used and how frequently they are used are meant to adhere your visual representation, that logo of that brand, to your consumer, because it's a real great way to have that connection made with them. They're memorable and they can stick with people, much like a good tagline or catchphrase. But having something that clashes and looks really inappropriate or unprofessional, for lack of better terms, can be just as off-putting as a professional one can be endearing to a consumer. So again, be conscious of what the long-term goal is here when you're making these changes, and have a plan. Talk with your FMS if you haven't thought about any of this stuff yet. Strategy is key. Workflow is clutch in making sure that what you do is effective in the long term for your consumers, so your business can be sustainable. Moving on, fonts, you've got a handful that you can choose from. Same for text color. Make sure your text color is built to work with the backgrounds that you are using. Self-explanatory, but important to mention. Images, what you can see here, you can add images to be used as a part of the background set for your websites. I've worked with a handful of my agents. I can show you one of theirs as an example. You can see you can have up to 4 images on your website that are a rotating plane. This is a great way to capture consumer attention right out of the gate, especially if you update them quarterly. It's a way for them to constantly see like, hey, something's changed, and allow them to dive into that website a little bit further. The big asterisk here is use photography that you have the rights of ownership to. I, for example, took this photo, therefore I own the copyright, and I don't have to worry about any professional photographer coming at me for copyright infringement. So either use images that you've taken, you've hired someone to take, or you have purchased the rights to. Adding these images, again, they get SEO and meta tagged. They can build, again, as part of a long-term strategy if they're being rotated into the system, build a library of images that are related to your area that will guide people from search engines back to your website, and a part of a big long-term SEO strategy. So again, there's lots to be had here. And again, with the thought processes around branding, make sure that this image is something that is consistent across the brand. If you visit my YouTube page, you'll notice the same photo there. It is also on, a ton of the platforms that I use for that same measure. So I walk my talk, and you guys get an idea of where you should see these sorts of repeating or reoccurring uses of branding for your business. And the last step is the review side, right? You can see here, you've got the property search, which you can add or not add. It's always clutch, right? Just something that, again, can be attention grabbing for your consumer. You can choose where you want it located. I liked the idea of center because I also put text for my image. I noted that it was the Bixby Creek Bridge. Putting text for the image will drop as you can see, piece of text right above the image in the middle. So I wanted my icon to line up center right underneath it. You can add whatever you would like to appear in that home search bar right there as well. And then you can choose what icons are popping up. Make sure your social links are turned on and make sure you're only adding links to pages that are a part of that marketing strategy. So, for example, you can see my LinkedIn, my YouTube, and my Facebook and Instagram on my website, because those are all things I actively update regularly. There's nothing more harmful to a brand than advertising that you're on Instagram and then that Instagram is something that hasn't been updated for like a month. So be conscious again of all of these things and how they are incorporated in part of a bigger strategy. Once I have hit saved, you'll see those website changes have saved, and now you've gone ahead and updated that design. I'm going to go back to pages so we can see that pages and menu section. So now, I know I'm running out of time here. So now that you've built your aesthetic and you've started to think about how this works as a part of my strategy and what I need to share on it, what do you do to edit the first things that your consumer is going to see, that home page? First off, I'm going to make sure home is the first tab on my website. And I'm going to click page, and I'm going to click edit page. So the page, edit page. And this will open up the home page for me. As you can see, this image is already here, and the layout and the main object that is here, if you hit edit, will take you right back to that website center. This can't be moved or changed, but everything underneath it can. And as you can see, I've got my bio summary here, which is one of the cards that can be automatically added from the widget. You'll see contact card, community served, featured properties, recent sales, search, and testimonials. You can also add custom cards and images. Custom cards, much like they sound like, will give you a block that you can edit, but that's for a bigger talk on another day. Let's talk about just the basics, right? What do we need to get done right away? If I hit edit, you can see my summary card, accent number 2, that gives me that greenish color that I have that I selected. I can also have a version with the stylized photo. I can do just plain white. I could do just plain picture, and you can see white, accent number 1. Choose what works best for you. The text is edited in a different spot. I will show you guys that in just a minute. We'll put a pin in that. Communities. This is the second biggest section that you want to start working on out of the gate to grab your consumers' attention. I'm going to talk about that in just a sec also. But as you can see, these things, you get this little hand that pops up right at the top. You can move these around for what works best for your consumer, what works best to lay out on your website. Once you're done editing sections, we can go ahead, hit preview and save, and you'll get to actually see what this looks like. First is desktop view, which is what you guys have been looking at when I bounce to my website. You've also got tablet. So again, you get an idea of what your consumer is looking at on one of their mobile devices. And then you've got mobile, which is probably one of the more predominant ways a lot of consumers will see your site. So it's a good one to make sure that the flow works on right out of the gate. Make sure you hit save and you see that congratulations. Otherwise, all your work won't have counted for anything. Now, outside of that home page, like I said, community served is the big spot you want to edit. What you will see here, and I'm going to go to, again, one of my agents that I've been working with, you have the opportunity to really capture your consumer, and this can become a space that is very revisitable as a part of your brand. Stock images are made available, but if you upload your own images, you can create something that becomes more geared for that community. And as you can see, the text will lay out in a really cool manner. Now, all she's got right now is the text, and we're continually building what that next level will be. But if I show you right in here, what you do is you pick your area, you hit edit, and you give that community a name. Making it a primary community, will allow that community to show up right up here. And as you can see, the difference between stock image and the one you upload. And then this is the big note, right? Because you can dive, consumers can go right into the home search and keep everything branded to you. But that home search information comes from how you incorporate the areas into this community. So the boundaries, right? Done by zip code, it will include every home in that zip code. If you draw a map, it'll include everything within the boundary of the map you draw. Multiple zip codes, obviously, will craft multiple property areas into the page and will reflect the appropriate data on that page for your consumer. What you want to keep conscious of is if a consumer is looking at Big Sur and they click for properties, is the data I'm putting in here going to best reflect them and give them the best shopping experience for that region? So make sure you've got that set up. And then again, make sure you've got a great quote to overlay for that image. You can add up to 3 images for your community. So the first one will always populate under your community summary. And then the last 2 will populate to separate the description from the home property information. And this is where you can create huge customer engagement points, because I have a lot of my agents, especially the ones, again, that have really strong activity on their website, use the community description as a point of their marketing strategy. So every quarter they update it with, location features, business interviews, community videos, all kinds of great things that they can think about to engage their consumer with their community and make the page shareable or revisitable, sharing stuff from their social media. So if they post a community video on their Instagram channel, it's also being hosted on YouTube. So then it can be posted onto the website. And on the video on Instagram, you remind people in that call to action to say, hey, feel free to check out the website. The video has been updated along with the community area for Big Sur. There have been a handful of new places I want to feature this quarter. Go check it out. Now we've built something that drives consumers that may only be finding you right now on Instagram to your website. So your marketing plan is doing what it's meant to and driving consumers from one of the additional marketing arms that you're doing, again, whether that's physical or digital, back to that hub that is your website, where there's 1,001 places to sign up for a mailing list or create a listing search or see what's available or find out about you and your business. And through these videos, your consumer will get to see how you operate. And again, you get to show them the connection to that community instead of just talk about it. And it makes the website revisitable. Same thing too, you can add SEO and meta descriptions. Again, there's great classes that talk about that, and you can save that community. That is big. If you want to dive in and do that for all of the areas that you know and can represent to your consumers, so that the page has constant revisitable value beyond just property searches, because there's 1,000,001 places to do that online. And this is your place to advertise your brand and what you're like to work with and what you provide to your consumer. So take advantage of it. And lastly, if you go to my account, I'm sure that some of the 100 classes have talked about that, but I just want to highlight here. This is where the website section lives for bio. So you do not edit the bio in the website section under that bio page. You'll actually come in here and instead hit edit. And you've got a bio summary, which you should think of as the elevator pitch for your business. It should be punchy. It should be a little bit on the warm side and should be focused on, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. Come and check out some of my communities and what I'm about. And then your full bio is that, design concierge, SEO friendly, web crawler friendly bio that has all of those kind of keywords in it that it needs to, and again, advertises your business, your strategy, and your brand, and appears everywhere that you are online, so you can leverage a web crawler and SEO in the best way possible. Once you're done editing these spaces, again, make sure you hit save. And the editing of these spaces works just like any basic HTML editor. That, again, if you take the 103 class that I teach on marketing, I dive into much more detail about that there. But again, this whole class is just made to show you where some of those key points you can dive in and get started in editing are and how you want to think about them in regards to marketing strategy. With all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. We are at the half hour. I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor to any questions. So feel free to unmute yourself. I will also check the chat and see if there are any as well. How many people have started working on marketing strategy, and especially in regards to some of the things I've talked about today? How many of you guys are consciously thinking about your website as that hub for your brand and business? Where do you find the banner section and how do you edit it? The banner as in the image that was on, like the one I have of Bixby Creek Bridge, that is the if you go to edit website, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again real quick. So if you go to edit website, that is what you will be doing in the appearance section right up here. And then under launch the website wizard, that is where you can upload the image that will appear on your banner. Any other questions that I can help with? Feel free to unmute yourselves as well. You do not have to use the chat, whatever works best for you. I will be dropping a link into that chat. It is a link to a survey that you might see from colleagues of mine. It will also be in my recap that I send to you guys as well. But if you'd like to provide any feedback, either positive or constructive, it is all helpful to me in regards to making me a better instructor for the agents. I appreciate everybody's time, and any opinions that you have to offer are always important. I don't see any other questions. Renee, did I answer your question? I went kind of through the that.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was referring to a banner that was put on my website last year by one of the essays, and it was under the image section. It was just blue, and it indicated the areas that that I serve, the zip codes and the names of the areas I serve.
Oh, okay. So that community served section and the way that layout is in that home editing section. So again, I'll share my screen real quick. So when you are right here. All right. So when you are in the back end, we're going to go to pages. And when you're editing your home page, we're going to hit edit page. So that community serve section is where you'll build the actual content. But on here is where you'll edit and lay out things like that. So the community served is this one of these icons right here, one of the widgets that's built into the system. So as you can see, if you grab it, you can move it wherever you would like it. And if you want to change the design, all you would have to do, so if you just have the names and you'd like the images like this, all you have to do is hit these three dots right here, hit edit. And much like with the contact card, you can scroll through and see the various design options that are available and choose the one that you like and then hit save.
Thank you.
And then again, preview and save, and then that last save button. So you kind of hit save 3 times before it holds. That third time, and then you'll see congratulations, your changes have been saved. If you don't see that, then the work you did won't have counted.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions that I can help with? All right. Well, I hope everybody found this valuable. Again, my name is Anuj. If you feel free to reach out to your FMS and dive into some of these things that I talked about today. Your website very much should be the central hub of your marketing strategy. And it's a successful way to make sure that it is a space that is of versatile use for your consumer. And that's what a great website will be. And the goal then is to make sure that, we talk about staying top of mind with your consumer. If you've made your website a space that they can revisit over and over again, you'll be able to do that. Where do I go to add more community served areas? In that community served tab. So that section I was just editing right before the end. I'm going to share my screen here. Under content, when you're in the back end. So not under communities here, but under communities served. And this is where you can add, so you can see add community, and it will take you right into that edit space to build a new community. Or you can come into the ones you have and edit them by hitting the little pencil. And of course, the little X will allow you to delete any communities as well if you wanted to consolidate or regroup. Again, much like the rotating carousel of photos, having the communities page being something that's updated quarterly and that is mentioned on all of the other platforms that you're leveraging in your strategy will drive your consumers back to the website, keep you top of mind, and keep it revisitable. So that way it's not something that's only used by consumers to just search for homes. Because like I said, there's a million places to do that. You've got to create a strategy for the website to make it a capture point or an advertising point. I mean, reality, it should be both. But whatever the focus of the month or the quarter may be for your marketing, your website should be that hub for it. So feel free to, again, reach out to your FMS. If you got questions that you'd like to ask me, feel free to reach out to me. This is a great time to dive into all of this stuff because it's Q4 and you can get ready for Q1 of 2021 to make sure that your business is sustainable for the next 1 to 3 years with how we are planning to shift in all of the changes that are being made that ripple out of COVID. Are there any other questions that I can answer? Looks like Divya, you're welcome. I've answered your question. That looks like it, everybody. Thank you all for attending. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Again, please don't forget to leave any feedback in the survey if you get a chance. I'll get that recap to you in 40 minutes or less, or the class is free. Have a great weekend and take care, guys.